Hello there and welcome to Getting Started with Tableau Cloud. This is a Tableau Conference 24 hands-on training session that Yuri and I are going to walk through with you all today. So we're excited to have you. As always, we have to cover our forward-looking statement. Please do not make any purchasing decisions based on what we record here today. There are a few parts that are not generally available yet to our customers, so this is why we like to call this out in the beginning. All right, so for our agenda, Yuri and I will introduce ourselves. We'll go over what is Tableau Cloud and why our customers choose to host their environment on Tableau Cloud. And then we'll get into our hands-on training exercises. So we'll build and publish a dashboard. We'll interact from the end user's perspective and then show what it looks like from an admin's point of view. And then lastly, we'll go into Tableau Pulse. So again, my name is Duncan Wingfield. I'm a senior solution engineer with Tableau, and joining me is Yuri Godo, who is also a senior solution engineer at Tableau. So do not worry, you all are in good hands for today's session. So before we begin, this session is designed for beginners. So whether this is your first time ever seeing Tableau or you're a brand new Tableau Cloud administrator, this session will cater to your learning needs and we'll cover all license levels. So whether you're a viewer, explorer, or creator, we have content for you today. So we'll be learning best practices so that you can take what you learned today back to your organization. And for those that are a little bit more experienced, we have some extra activities throughout today's session so that if you get done with your given session chapters, then we have extra exercises for you as well. So all of this, the recording and all materials will be available for you after we end the recording today. So Yuri, please let us know, what is Tableau Cloud?
Thanks, Duncan. Yeah, let's talk about what's Tableau Cloud. And how many people are actually on the Tableau Cloud already? Oh, quite a few people. And I guess some of you are still on Tableau Server, so you may be wondering what's the difference between server and the cloud. So I'll make sure to cover those differences as well. Tableau Cloud is our fully hosted #1 AI-powered analytics platform. So everything is hosted, so you don't need to worry about any of the backend anymore. And it is an enterprise-wide analytics platform, so you can use for any department, for any use cases, with any data. Exciting thing is Einstein Copilot in Tableau is coming, and moving to Hyperforce is coming. We will touch a little bit later again. So why would you be interested in Tableau Cloud? There are 3 key pillars. It's strategic, and it's always available, and it's always there's operational agility there. So first pillar, the strategic, you can align. Nowadays, a lot of companies are moving to Tableau, not only Tableau Cloud, but also any cloud solution as part of your enterprise strategy. So moving to the cloud is a perfect fit for aligning with your company initiative. Of course, it can reduce the cost as well. And it's always available. It's the second pillar, which is same as important as the strategic one. Since you don't need to worry about upgrading and maintenance things anymore, Tableau will take care of everything, and you can enjoy zero downtime upgrade. And it can be accessible from anywhere, and we are targeting SLA for 99.9%. Finally, the operational agility. You don't have to worry about hardware anymore. That means you can reduce maintenance time and cost. And we typically see fewer technical support cases, which you can focus more on your analytics, not on the back-end infrastructure. Let's talk about money. So the difference between Tableau Server and Tableau Cloud is not only just where it's being hosted and who is managing the environment, but also come to the cost. Let's see, there's an iceberg. Here's the iceberg illustration. And on the surface of iceberg, between the Tableau Server and Tableau Cloud, the license cost fee is actually up to Apple. However, all the hidden cost underneath the iceberg is quite significantly different. On Tableau server, you have to prepare hardware, you have to have human capital who can manage the Tableau server environment. And if there is a slowness on the dashboard or the environment itself, then that's a delay in the speed to insight. Overall, we typically see the total cost ownership is higher than Tableau Cloud. Then how about Tableau Cloud? Of course, Tableau Cloud is a SaaS hosted platform, but still we need somebody to be administrate the environment. So still there's a human capital, but there you don't need hardware to host the Tableau server anymore. No need no additional hardware, and Tableau Cloud is a performed environment, so there's no delay in speed to insight. That typically result that customer can see a 37% of cost decrease by moving from Tableau server to Tableau Cloud. Trust is our number one barrier. So we take security components very seriously. We are SOC 2, SOC 3 compliant, we're HIPAA compliant, we have multiple ISO certifications, and including this and more are available for you to review on our security portal page. Currently, we have 7 geolocations that you can choose where do you want to have a Tableau Cloud pod. It's very scalable, so you can always have more pod if your business case need expanded. We typically recommend 2 factors, where the user is and where your data is. And the exciting news is by moving to the Hyperforce down the road this year, you'll have more options that you can choose from. And Hyperforce is is already great. The SoundCloud is already great. By moving to Hyperforce, it's more scalable, and you can potentially look for a better performance. And you don't need to worry about it. We will take care of it. But that's something exciting that's coming down the line. And Tableau Pulse, let's talk about it. So Tableau has been a well-known visual business intelligence tool for many, many years, but now we have a lot of exciting AI feature coming into our product. Tableau Pulse is one of them. You will have a tailored metrics on your homepage that you care about, that you can see and understand what's happening for the metrics that you have on your hand. It's personalized, it's contextual, and it's intelligent. With very few modification, very few configuration, you will get a tailored natural language messages into your hand, and you can ask questions in a formal natural language as well. And the great news, it's already GA'd. So we will have an opportunity to experience this a little later. So let's keep going. Einstein Copilot for Tableau is another exciting thing. This is not GA'd yet, but this is a little copilot that will sit next to you to help you to build a visualization in a very, very easy way with a natural language. And you can even learn from them if there's any tips and tricks. Now, as we're getting close to the hands-on training part, there are a few house rules. I'm not going to go over it. I'm sure you can read it, but this is a best practice that we decided to take in place by having this 300 people in the room to conduct hands-on training together. So let's try not to bother each other's folder and let's stay in your lane.
Thank you, Yuri. And so before we get started, we just want to give a brief overview of what your Tableau Cloud site will look like. So in the top, you've got your URL, which you'll see a few key pieces within that URL, including what Yuri mentioned before, is the pod location. Now, we had Tableau Conference in San Diego this year, so Yuri and I chose that West pod, which you'll see within that URL. Furthermore, you're able to customize the image of your site. So Yuri and I chose a Tableau Conference image, but you could choose your organization's image or even just a Tableau image if you want. Again, you can choose the site name. Ours, as you see, is just TC24 HOT, but that again could be your organization's name as well. That is all fully customizable. Now, going down that left-hand side, we are currently in the home page where you'll see some favorites and some recommendations based off of what folks within our organization are looking at today. But then furthermore, when we start to explore the content within our Tableau Cloud site, you'll see that each individual has a personal space, and they also have an area called Explore, which is where we're going to be spending a lot of our time today, where they can explore different content, whether that's data sources, workbooks, anything that you build, that's going to be where you find that on your Tableau Cloud site. And as Yuri mentioned, we'll also touch on Tableau Pulse, but this is how you'll get to Tableau Pulse within your cloud environment as long as Pulse is turned on. All right. And for the admins in the room, where you'll add users and, more importantly, groups of users to your cloud site, and we'll talk about why that's important today. And then lastly, you'll have a site status, which are out-of-the-box workbooks that Tableau has created for you as an admin so that you can measure adoption, traffic to different data sources and workbooks to see who's viewing what, and maybe even promote that specific content to the rest of your organization. All right, so for this first chapter, what we're going to do is we are going to build a workbook, and then we are going to publish that dashboard to our cloud site. All righty, so before we get in, before I hand it over to Yuri, on the next slide, we'll see that we're again going to connect to a certified published data source, which Yuri and I have called World Languages. So we'll build out a dashboard from scratch based off of that data source that is all within the site currently today, that you'll follow step by step on the lab manual. And then lastly, after we create that workbook, we'll publish that workbook to your project folder, where then in the second chapter, we'll see what that looks like from an end user perspective. But for this first chapter, I'll turn it over to Yuri so we can walk through the exercise together.
Sounds good, Duncan. So we have about 15 minutes, but hopefully we don't take all this time and we can go quickly going through. Let me switch my screen to a virtual machine environment. So this is the virtual machine environment that everybody signed in and used during the hands-on training on TC24. Right now, I already have a Tableau Cloud site pulled up. So I'm going to say this username. I'm going to type in username. All right, click sign in. That should take me to the single sign-on page. So let's try the sign in. That's a first step. All right, perfect. Now we are in, and since my folder name was 115, so I'm gonna make sure I'm gonna work my work inside this folder. Now, it's chapter 1. Let's first create workbook. So go ahead, click workbook inside a project. Let's make this a little bigger for everybody. All right, and I see the word languages that Duncan published. So let's go ahead and click connect. Perfect. Now I see little fields here. I want to have a little map first, language by location. So let's double click country or blend it to over here, blank canvas. I have a map already. And I'm going to bring total speakers to size. And my first worksheet is ready. I'm going to go ahead, click sheet and change the name to language by location. Amazing. And let's go ahead to create the second worksheet. Second one, I want to create scatter plot, but I don't necessarily know like how to make a scatter plot. So I'm going to go ahead and choose native speakers, second speakers, and per country. Countries, and then, sorry, no, language. Not the country. Okay, perfect. Then let's go ahead to click show me and create the scatter plot for me. I would prefer it to be circle and border to be black so that it's a little more vivid. And then it's also make sure we have a label so we know which language it is. Fabulous. Let's go ahead to rename it to native versus second language. Finally, let's create a bar chart. Now I'm slowly getting the feeling of a Tableau, so I want to make something by myself. I'm going to bring some total speakers into the columns, and I'm going to bring languages into rows. Perfect. I'm going to have a little bit of sorting here. And what I'm interested is knowing who are the second language speaker. No, native speaker, it's the color. I was like, something is wrong. Okay, this is great. So now I can see the color, the amount of native speakers. So I see the Mandarin Chinese have a lot of native speakers. On the other hand, the English has lesser native speaker. This is very interesting. Let's go ahead and rename it to total speaker by language. And let's put together all these three worksheets together. Right, bring this right next to here. This is like something you can totally customize, but for the sake of today's demo, I'm just following this format. Let's rename the workbook, dashboard name to World Language Analytics. Looks great. You know, also make this a little bold format. Perfect. And let's keep it interactive. So I'm going to use map and this bar chart as a filter. Amazing. Now it's time to publish. Let's go ahead to click published. Make sure my folder is being chosen. And I'm going to go ahead and say World Languages 115. Perfect. Let's click publish. Let's go ahead to click go to public to see what a great work we just did. Okay, great. So there's a workbook that we just created. So this is the end of chapter 1. Great work, everyone. Now let's go back to the presentation.
Great work, Carrie. That's a beautiful dashboard. So for chapter 2, after we've built the workbook, the dashboard, we've published it to our cloud site, we're going to shift gears and show what that looks like from an end user's perspective or from an interactivity standpoint. Because once we create this workbook, we're going to want to publish it and then allow the end users who might not be the ones that are actually putting together the workbook or creating like Yuri just did, but allow them to gain some value and interact with the dashboard on their own time. All right, so in the second chapter, what we're going to do is that we are going to set up subscriptions so that we can make sure that Tableau is reaching out to us with this workbook based off of the schedule that we set it to. We're also going to create some data-driven alerts so that we can be notified ahead of time or proactively when specific conditions or thresholds are met within the data. Then we're also going to create some custom views and show what other features that the end user has access to once they get their hands on the dashboard that we published. All righty. So with it, let's go ahead and jump into chapter 2.
Sounds good. Let's go back to the hands-on environment right here. And as a audience, I'm going to go ahead and click this chapter 2. So this is all the instructions are here. So first of all, I want to do a filter and comment. So here's a step-by-step too, but I'm going to go ahead and click India and observe the result. Interesting. India is not the mono-language culture. So there are many languages being spoken. This is very interesting. I have to tell this to Duncan. Duncan has to know. So let's go ahead and click, hey, Duncan. Duncan, check this out. Let's add a little bit of snippet of this dashboard so that he can see what I'm seeing right now. Hit post. This is how easy it is. You can leave the comment to somebody else. Now, as part of the end, I'm going to reset the view prior to the filtering activity. Right. Now, click download the button on right up corner to explore what are the possible options for you for the download options. And for the subscription, let's go ahead and click subscriptions. And I'm going to subscribe myself, subscribe me. and include this view. And on the bottom, I can schedule the desired time that I like to receive this message. I'm going to hit subscribe, and created subscription is being created. And then I can also subscribe for other people as well. This is important. It's more scalable that way. Next is data-driven alert. So let's go ahead and click total speaker and click alerts. Let's create data-driven alert so that when the total speaker is over 2,000 people, no, 2,000 million people, which, by the way, English is almost reaching to the total speaker is going to be 2,000. So basically the idea is we will get notified when English total speakers is reached to 2,000 million people. Okay. Yeah, this looks good. And then I'm going to go ahead, sorry, weekly at most. So I can change the frequency here and create alert. Excellent. Now alert successfully created. And last but not least, let's create a custom view. So we do a bunch of filtering, right? So I want to filter to my hometown country, Japan. Then let's say like this is the filter that I always want to apply whenever I look at this dashboard. And I do not want to create a click around every single time. This is one a single click, but in reality, it's probably 5 or 6 filters that you have to click every single time. To reduce that time to repeat it, you can save this as a custom view. Make it my default, make it visible to the others, and I'm gonna make this as a my default view. So that this way, next time I roll this dashboard, this is already been filtered to tailor to my data that I care about. So that's the part of many things that you can do with interactivity with Tableau Cloud. And if you have more time, you can explore these data guide sections as well as the data detail sections, and to see like what are the key information that are available to you in this section. And that concludes the chapter 2.
Awesome. Thank you, Yuri. So we have 2 of our 4 chapters done. So after showing what it looks like from an end user's perspective when we're interacting with the dashboard, from the other side of the coin, we want to make sure that we're administrating the content that we're publishing to our Tableau Cloud site correctly. All right, so we'll chat about setting up permissions for groups at the project level using the sales team as an example. So by giving the sales team in this example access to your content, the admins in the room today can set specific permissions that fit the needs of each project. So this helps meet regulatory or data governance requirements by controlling who can access what. And it also makes teamwork smoother by giving the right people the access they need and keeping others out. So a good tip is to lock permissions at the project level instead of allowing custom settings everywhere. Locking them ensures a consistent and scalable permission structure. So this is super helpful when sharing content with a larger audience. So that's what we're going to walk through today, and Yuri's going to show us how.
Yeah, let's do it. Okay, in 1 second. There's too much back and forth for Google Meet today. You can do it. All right, it happened. Go to chapter 3. Okay, now let's go back to where we were. So go to 115 folder. This is my own folder, right? So let's click permissions. This little 3-dot reader, and then click permissions. And this is where I can set up the permission to the users. So this time we are in the project level, and I want to give a sales team. Sales team is already existed users who is a group of some viewer licenses people, and they have nothing to see right now. Their Tableau Cloud looks very sad because there's nothing, no data and no dashboard is accessible for them. So let's give them access. So I'll choose sales team and I'll choose template to view. And this way they will have access to view the project. And there is more thing you can do. Definitely, you can set up the granular level of workbook level of permissions and all that. But this is try to keep it as simple as possible and click save. And this way, at the bottom, you have a little preview of who are the users included in the sales team group. And now I see they all have a view permission here, which is great. Now, let's change the gear to a locked permission thing that Duncan just mentioned. On the left up corner, there's asset permission. Now it's set to customizable. Go ahead and click edit and change it to locked so that the parent level of folder, project, like where we are right now, 115. If you have a children level of folder as a part of hierarchy, you can inherit those product permission in those corresponding folders. So this is a best practice heap that Duncan mentioned. And also, it's not described in the lab manual, but it's always good to remember that in the Explorer section, there is a folder called default folder. So let's scroll all the way down. Here we go. So default folder right here. Default folder is, you can't get rid of this folder. This will always exist no matter what in the Tableau Cloud. And this is kind of plays the role of the template of the initial permission. So you want to set this to none, not allowed, not denied. Just keep it as blank, as unspecified. That way, it's a blank canvas. It's not accepted, not denied. So you can do whatever you want. Whenever you create a new folder, it will start from scratch with a blank canvas. So when you first open up Tableau Cloud and ready to start creating contents, make sure your default folder's permission is set to unspecified. I think that's it for the chapter 3. Right.
Thank you, Yuri. So for last chapter, as mentioned, we are going to walk through Tableau Pulse. So again, this is generally available to all cloud customers. This is a setting that you or an admin would turn on within their cloud settings. All right, so that's what Yuri is going to walk us through, is what that looks like, and then we'll finish up here.
Yeah, sounds great, Duncan. Yeah, so Tableau Pulse, as we mentioned, it's an exciting AI-infused feature that Tableau Cloud have. So let's explore what's available to you right now. And the whole goal is you can learn about what is Tableau Pulse is, how does it work, why is it beneficial for your organization, and then after you come back to your company, then you can start to utilizing Tableau Pulse. Now, throughout the Tableau Pulse hands-on part, we will start with Explorer Pulse metrics. There are already a couple of metrics already assigned to you. You can interact and drill down and what's available to you. You can ask questions, you can browse, all that. For those subscriptions that you are interested to adding more, you can always explore and add more to your homepage. So this is everything that we will going to explore in today. All right, with that, let's get back to the hands-on environment. All right, here we are. So I'm gonna get out from the permission setting page. I'm gonna go to chapter 4, and let's move on to the Tableau Pulse. On the left navigation bar, there's a Tableau Pulse. So I'm gonna click, and this will take us to the Tableau Pulse page. And the first thing first is after we wrote it, we immediately noticed that on top of the Tableau Pulse, there are a little summary of what is going on the KPI metrics that I care about. So it seems like quarterly return has decreased 22% compared to the same time last year. On the other hand, though, the units sold of this quarter is up for 7.8% from the previous year. This is a great summary. Like just like newspapers headline of the titles and what's happening, like I can grasp the business overview immediately. And for today's exercise, we're going through on the browser on the computer, but this is available on a mobile phone as well. And also the Slack integrations and Teams integration to come, and email notification too. So there's many ways to interact with this Tableau Pulse. Now let's interact with the first metrics. Let's go ahead and click sales. We have 1 million of sales from April 1st to May 23rd, which is our first quarter. And the overview is saying it's definitely a steady increasing, which is really, really good. And we can also see breakdown. And in the breakdown section, we're right now in a product name, but we can go ahead and just change it to like product type or whatever you like subcategory, all that. So I can easily see the breakdown, which by the way, you don't need to create this view. Tableau Pulse is automatically creating this for you, and so that end user can interact with these breakdown by themselves. All right, at the bottom, there are a couple of pre-built questions here, but let's go ahead and click Ask Question in the natural language form. I say, which product type increased the most? All right, yeah, exactly. The first one is exactly what I want to hear. So let's see. It seems like the gear cycling bikes, gearbox, luggage, men's shoes hiking, these are the top 3 items have increased the most, this is very interesting. I wonder like whomever the reps was selling this, like if they did something or if it's a seasonal thing. This is definitely more thing I want to like look further. All right, let's go back and see what else we can do. So we have returns here. We have returns here and units sold here and sales here, but I'm also interested to see average order value. But average order value is not here, so what do? Don't worry, you can either go ahead to click Browse Metrics or on the right up corner, there's a search bar. So you can look up average order value. But look no further, there's average order value right here, which is already existing metrics. So let's take advantage of it. Let's click, I like a month to date for the average order value. And just like we saw sales earlier, I can see the same experience look and feel, right? Overview and everything. And I can also adjust the filter. So I can only see the cycle category, electric category, or I can also choose a different dimensions of the timeline as well, whatever I like. But the important part is I like this metrics. I do like to have this in my home page of the Tableau Pulse. So I'm going to go ahead to click follow. And this is how easy it is to follow those metrics. And now this count was originally 61 followers. Now it's 62 followers because I just followed it. And finally, let's go back to Tableau Pulse original page and then look into the profile icon on the right up corner. If you click preferences, this is where you can set up your favorite communication preferences. You can set it daily, weekly, monthly, whatever the cadence that you like to receive a digest of this summary. If you are to create new metrics definitions, you can also do so from here. This isn't part of the hands-on training, so I'm just going to show you how very briefly. I'm going to click connect. And I will say sales. This is a published data source that we have already on Tableau Cloud. Tableau Pulse has to be on top of published data source. And I'm going to go ahead and choose the measure as a sales. I can choose aggregation to sum, average, and all that. I'm going to keep it as sum right now. And for Tableau Pulse to work, you have to have at least one data format in your data. So I'm going to click order place date. And just like this, you can have a little Tableau Pulse metrics here already. You can also click create advanced calculation so that on the Tableau Pulse, you can create a calculation. If you don't find, which field to use when you're creating Tableau Pulse metrics, then you can always write a little calculation on demand on Tableau Pulse as well. Let's give a couple of filters so that end user can interact with those filters. So categories, and also maybe like a gender. Maybe gender is something to do with the sales trend. And return flag is another interesting one, right? So let's add things like this. And I would like to make it as a currency because sales is a dollar amount. So perfect, little dollar logo appeared. And before we save the definitions, I'm gonna go ahead and click Insight and let the Tableau Pulse know the value going up is favorable in this case. So it's more visually attractive to see the trend. It's easy to understand what is happening. Is it going up or going down? It's very easy to grasp. If needed, there are the insight types that you can turn on or turn off. But with that, I'm going to go ahead and save definitions. But, oh no, I got an error. A definition with this name already exists. Okay, so yeah, you're right? Because we already saw this metrics earlier together. So why don't we say sales number 2? This should work. Oh, okay, this time it worked. But actually, I think I did probably something wrong for the filter. Maybe I did make something original, but the idea I wanted to show you is if there is identical metrics existed, even if that's under the different name, like sales 2, if the actual contents is the same, Tableau Pulse will give me an error that I cannot create a duplicated metrics. That is a great way of the out-of-the-box data governance in place in Tableau Pulse. So there's always a single source of truth metrics available that kind of forcing everybody to use that one instead of making their own variation, which is essentially the same metrics. So with that is the walkthrough for Tableau Pulse. So let's go back to the presentation.
Awesome. Thank you, Yuri, for walking through those sessions with us and the step-by-step. So at this point, we have finished all of our hands-on training sessions, and look at all of the things that you have accomplished. So we've connected to some data. We published a dashboard off of the data. We've set some data-driven alerts. We subscribed dashboards, created projects and set permissions on those projects. And then lastly, as Yuri just walked through, followed a pulse metric and even saw what it looks like to create one ourselves. So our call to action to you all is to, once you are back within your organization, to please bring one of these achievements back to your environment. So whether that is publishing a certified data source or building or following a pulse metric, just if you can bring back one thing that we learned today, Yuri and I will call that a success. So thank you for joining us today, and that'll be all. Bye-bye.